Well, we said this was coming. That ultimately this retained EU law bill, this bonfire of about potentially 4,000 plus EU laws, or at least retained EU law that had been brought into the British statute book, would have to be watered down. Why? Because some of these laws, as we've always described it, the best way to describe it is these laws, in some cases, are like not only foundation stones for like the rest of the house, but in some cases support pillars. So in come the Brexiteers who said, yeah, this is a really nice house, but I really don't like these foundations and this support beam that supports the whole house. Well, it's going to have to go. So in you come and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. If you do that, the whole house is going to come collapsing down. Are you really sure you want to do this? But the Brexiteers and these not only these free market fundamentalists, but these these small government types are like, yeah, get rid of it. You know? So there's been this, do they realize what they're about to do? And luckily, it seems that there is at least a recognition that if we were to do this, this would have big consequences. Not only ultimately would this really, really cause big problems, certainly with the newly signed Windsor Agreement, which we said right from the very beginning, what does this mean for the retained EU law bill? But then, of course, what does this mean for the actual withdrawal agreement, the trade deal agreement? If we get rid of these rules and regulations, what does that mean? Because ultimately, the EU is going to have a lot of talks and concerns saying, oh, yeah, you just got rid of this regulation. So we always knew at some point there was going to be a climb down because Rishi Sunak knows the UK at this moment in time cannot afford a trade war. And he knows that. He knows that full well. And it seems that he has had to go to his own Brexit MPs and go, look, we can't get rid of all these 4,000 laws, but can we just get rid of 800 and just call it a day? And of course, the reaction, of course, from these Brexiteers, even the people who are like the small, the little C government conservatives, even getting rid of 800 laws is a lot of laws to get rid of. Let's just put that out there. 800 laws is a lot of laws to get rid of. Remember, we've seen what has happened in the past of just trying to get rid of one or change one law. They're talking about getting rid of 800. So even these small C government conservatives, they're not happy because they wanted to go for the whole kit and caboodle. So this just goes to show you what kind of fundamentalist you're dealing with this ideology. And there's a big question here, I think, that has to be asked. What happens to the coherency of the Conservative Party on this? Will it break this coherency that Rishi Sunak was at least somehow managing, albeit somewhat very difficultly, to try and at least keep together? I think this might break the cohesion because we've already seen this story broke about an hour ago. And already, all the conservative media apparatus is not happy about this. But remember, they're still getting rid of over 800 laws, but they're still not happy. This is exactly what we had with Brexit. Oh, we're doing Brexit. Not good enough. We want more Brexit. We want more. Oh, well, here you go. No, that's still not good enough. We want even more. Give us more. This is what happens. This is always what happens. We are dealing with people in the Conservative Party who are so extreme with their views when it comes to Brexit, when it comes to the idea of we want smaller government. Think about this. There are conservatives on the backbenchers who will make the argument that they want a smaller government. Of course, not saying what they don't want the government to do anymore, who have backed the retained EU law bill and voted it through when it sort of first went through, thinking, great, 4,000 laws gone. But here they are now with what is certainly does represent a massive climb down, because ultimately, as we said before, once that Windsor Agreement had been signed, this called into question all the regulatory stuff that people like Rishi Sunak and all these other sort of hardcore free market fundamentalists wanted to do. And we are in a position where 800 laws is still not good enough. I mean, you have to wonder what on earth would satisfy these people. You really do have to wonder, because it generally seems sometimes that the only thing that would satisfy them was if they could somehow just nuke from orbit not only Brussels, but the entire sort of socialist establishment that they so talk about hating so much. Like, that generally seems what they want to do. But this is going to upset, I think, a lot of Brexiteers, because news had broke of this last night, that this might be coming. And we'd already had rumors and rumblings that there was going to have to be a climb down, that either Rishi Sunak was going to have to kick this bill into the long grass and just put it into the waste bin, or he was going to have a massive climb down. Ultimately, he has had to have a massive climb down over this bill. Certainly, I think the 2023 date for this, like, ending all these dates is gone, but there's still a lot of very worrying powers, of course, in this bill. And I think it has been brought up before that this might be, or at least we've got to be careful, this isn't a Trojan horse, that this does not later give these crazy fundamentalists powers just to go start going, yeah, I want that one, that law gone, that law gone, that law gone, that law gone. Because if they do that under this bill, then any MP that said, hold on a second, that law is actually very vital, we've actually got to keep it, then to do that, they've got to go through a massive labyrinthian process and somehow battle the Lichian body of William Gladstone and many other sort of prime ministers of Westminster's past to fighting the final Lichian body of Oliver Cromwell to make sure that they retain this law on parliamentary books. And that's just one. And they've got to do that every single time. You can't do it for multiple, but you can if they want to get rid of these laws. But if you want to keep one, then it has to be done individually for every process. And this all comes back to what the main aim of this law always was that they knew that they couldn't get rid of all EU law, but they knew that with this bill, they would be able to get rid of enough. And of course, the powers placed in that bill would then allow them to start picking off more bits of laws and regulations that they did not like to help them with their free market fundamentalist ideology. So ultimately, even though 800 laws is a lot to get rid of, these guys are not celebrating that, because 800 is just not enough for them. And this is why we have to majorly fight against this, because there's a lot of laws they could just still go, just Thanos snap out of nowhere. And like I say, I do not see, the types of, Angela Rayner, I don't know what type of D&D persona would Angela Rayner be. I don't know, really. I do not see Angela Rayner having to go down into the depths of the Westminster crypt and having to fight the corpse of Oliver Cromwell on a daily basis, just to make sure that all these laws and regulations remain in place so that they do not cause absolute chaos when they're just completely snapped out of existence. by these unfortunate powers that this bill would give them. So this is certainly something we've got to continue to keep an eye on. But the reaction from this already from the Brexiteers, they're not happy about it. There's a lot of them going around calling this is a massive Brexit betrayal. What happens? Well, we'll see what happens. But once again, I think we're going to see a lot of disruption and not a lot of happy campers now in the Tory party once again. But then again, that was always the case. They were always sort of very sort of, because of the Brexit debacle, all very factional, all very sort of camped around their own campfires. Well, they're all meant to be sort of singing Kumbaya around the main one. But, after that sort of, singing, they'll go back to their own campfires. And of course, the tribalism and factionalism, I suspect, will once again set in very, very quickly. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.